Hi there, this is a piece of audio content that is only available in full over at patreon.com/ElwoodCityLimits. We wanted to give you a little bit of a preview to show you what you might be missing out on. You can join us for as little as $1 under the pay what you want model at patreon.com/ElwoodCityLimits and get access to over dozens of hours of content, including every episode of For the Kids, a PBS Kids podcast. We appreciate you listening, whether you're a patron or whether you're listening on the free feed. You're under no obligation to join, and thank you very much for checking out this preview. But if you'd like to know what these episodes and extra content sounds like, here's a little bit of a sneak peek. So yeah, this one I also liked because it is a biblical story that I'm not familiar with. So this is based on the biblical story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego from the book of Daniel. And it is a pretty direct representation. But as you said, Lucas, they put on a show. So they present the story, but there is also a beginning and an end with Bob and Larry. Bob the Tomato.
Right. They're framed much like the Looney Tunes in that the central VeggieTales characters, Bob the Tomato, Larry the Cucumber, Junior the Asparagus, are sort of a like theater troupe or like a cast of characters that are put into certain roles depending on what the story requires.
Right, exactly. Phil Vischer is the voice of Bob the Tomato, and they had to do all their voices themselves. Mike Naraki is the voice of Larry the Cucumber, and Lisa, Phil's wife, is the voice of Junior Asparagus. So Bob and Larry, they first do a cold open, as they usually do. In this one, Larry is wearing an oven mitt on his head as a hat so that he can be cool. He heard it was the cool thing to do. But this ties into a letter that they got from Dexter Wilmington of Tuscaloosa, Alabama, who doesn't want to watch a bad show with his friend. But if he doesn't watch the bad show, he won't be cool. Lucas, it's 1995. What do you think the bad show was?
South Park, probably.
Yeah?
Yeah, probably. I feel like South Park was the big boogeyman in circa 1995.
That's funny. That's funny. My first thought was The Simpsons, just because of how popular it is. But you might be right, actually. Well,
I'll also say this. This is one of the changes. You know, a lot of this episode thus far has been us kind of basking in our nostalgia and thinking about, how, despite me not even being Christian, thinking about how great we think VeggieTales is in a lot of ways. I will say that this is where they lost me a little bit in my modern watch. I was like, I'm actually Team Billy on this one all the way. Dexter kind of sounds like a loser. Who cares? Watch the cool video. The more dangerous a video it is, the cooler it probably is.
Speaking of The Simpsons, it's very Rod and Todd behavior to to rat out your friend with the talking vegetables and be like, I don't want to watch that show. It's bad.
The talking God-fearing vegetables. I would say that, yeah, I'm Team Billy all the way on this one.
Of course, in this cold open, before we get to the show, you get to see the animation in its rawest form, because, of course, when we get into the story, there's a different environment, there's different costumes, all this sort of thing. And we already did talk about this a little bit, but it's very, it flows quite well, Its simplicity highlights its appeal, and you compare it to CGI animation of the time. Like, they move from each pose that they hit very quickly, and it actually looks really good, like in terms of the way that it moves around. Yeah, and I think you said as much, Lucas, as like they sacrificed complexity for simplicity, and in doing so, they made something that works a lot better with the energy that they're trying to create and to inspire in kids watching. They are telling the story of Rack, Shack, and Benny because their original names are a bit too long. It's three kids who go to work for Mr. Nezer, or in the Bible, Nebuchadnezzar, at his chocolate factory. This is narrated by a character named George, who is an old green onion, and he narrates the story from within it. He's also a character in the story. We get a few songs throughout this, and the first one is just called The Chocolate Factory, parentheses, Good Morning, George. Very catchy. Like, there was just a couple of these that were just like, oh yeah, I could totally see this getting stuck in my head, especially if my kid was watching this once or twice a day for several weeks on end or whatever. There is something about the animation I wanted to see. I wanted to see if you noticed this. So there's a couple of times I saw it in the shot of Laura. So Laura is a carrot, And she goes into the chocolate factory on like this kind of flying car sort of thing. And they do they go through the factory. You see how the chocolate bunnies are made. And then she takes her car and flies out. Did you notice that the animation of her pulling the car kind of slowed down a little bit?
Yep.
I think it works in that it looks like it's just trying to accommodate all of the song. But to me, it was like if this is made in, say, 1994, 1995, like, is the computer chug-a-lugging to, like, get all of these assets in at the right time and
you're
fade
like,
things in and out?
You're like, how is this pre-rendered video lagging? I see what you're saying.
And it's just like, it was a noticeable slowdown that was like, I mean, if you saw this today, it would be unthinkable, like the processing speed that animation computers have. But back in 95, it's like, you know what? Maybe it was just a little, and they were, again, still struggling to make their money. So it's like, maybe they just couldn't get it up to the same speed as everything else. And I mean, sure, everything moves really quickly when it's just a tomato and cucumber on the screen.
Okay, that's going to do it for now, but we will see you next time on Elwood City Limits or at patreon.com/Elwood City Limits if you decide to join us. Thank you very much, and have a great week.